I play with so many people, I forgot his name.
Oh God,
Forgot his name.
Yeah, I bet you threw his game too, you bastard. All right, let's jump in here. Our first match, of course, here in our playoffs.
Quick play.
It's yeah, okay, mate. Yeah, like that makes it any better. It's all on the table here for these two teams, right? The Washington Justice, man. I mean, it's the trough of their season. You know, they're not really peaking at the right time. Last year, they absolutely peaked at the right time. It was a Roadhog Zarya meta, or this team came alive. The problem is they'd already been disqualified from making it into playoffs. They'd already sort of been mathematically eliminated. I've got a little secret for you. On this patch, Roadhog gives 25% less ult charge.
That's not.
I'm just saying.
You're not going to see Roadhog.
All right, well.
Stunned.
All right, I'm just saying there might have been a chance. Anyway, look, the Paris Eternal match, they've definitely... I saw that Plat Chat episode at the start of the season, right? We ranked all the teams, and yeah, it's really easy to go back, and hindsight's 2020. But you guys ranked them at number 18 out of 20 in the league. They come in here, what does that say? Number 8, and with a chance to make it to playoffs here. So they've definitely impressed us and subverted a lot of expectations we had early in the season.
Yeah, I think the rankings earlier in the season were pretty well justified, right? When you looked at the two EU teams, I don't think any of them you were ranking that highly, and everybody thought that London would be better coming into the season. But Paris has definitely proved that to be wrong, obviously, throughout the year. Some big pickups, obviously, through the season, with Pistola coming in to play the off-tank, and then I know having Dridro coming in to play the support, main support. But I feel like this is a series that the Paris Eternal can win. I think this is a Justice team that you look at roster v roster and you're like, well, the Justice should easily be able to win this. But when you kind of look at how they play and eye test, the Justice just have not hit that potential, while Paris has potentially kind of reached over the expectations of what we thought of.
And look, Paris Eternal fans have a lot to be excited about right now. No hero pools means Naga can go back to that Echo. He had an extremely outsized impact on that hero at multiple times. Only God, I cover the camera when I pick my nose too, mates. Okay. But we should expect to see Naga be a real dominant force here. We've had a lot of talk about Dridro, right? There's a conversation that he's the best Western Brigitte player in the league right now. I don't think that's too hard to sort of make a case for. But Khan is the scrappiest of scrappy. His Ana is incredible, Matt. He's number 1 for biotic grenade kills, so he's going for those like cross-map bio-nade. And the follow-up is really good from the front line, and of course, Naga. That's it, Dan. Get yourself some caffeinated beverage in you, mate. Yeah. I mean, he's ready to roll here. And of course, going up against the Paris Eternal are the Washington
he's trying to show off
Justice.
I think that's the vanilla version.
Yeah, it is. It's the vanilla version. Okay,
I haven't seen that
a little bit off the wall. Haven't had that in a while. All right, the Washington Justice, Matt. Again, we've been critical of them recently now, of course, as Closer goes up against his previous teammate there and Only God. But it's safe to say Mag's wheelhouse is much more about that Reinhardt and Winston play than it was sort of the Wrecking Ball. Mag looked very, very good in the Reinhardt rush comps in double bubble setups here. So this is his time to re-establish himself as a top tank contender in the league at a very crucial point in the year.
This is the 6th place team in the West. Coming into the season, people were talking about them being one of the top 2-3 teams in the West, potentially having a chance to go to a deep in the playoffs and the finals. This team is one of the lowest seeds in the play-ins. I think this is where they really winning here, getting into the overall playoffs is where they can turn this season from a pretty big failure, in my opinion, for the Justice to something of more salvageable, right? When you have players as good as Decay and Mag and Fury, I know Assassin we've seen at times. Like, you need to be better than the 6th seed. And a lot of the talk was about the supports coming into the season, but to be honest, I think they've been fine. Like, they haven't been losing this team games. I think, Mag not being able to play some of that ball, and then some of the odd things that we've seen from Assassin as of late on the Sombra have really kind of hurt them.
Absolutely. And Decay, Matt, is a player who has the highest final blow-to-death ratio on Tracer in the league, but that actually is a bit misleading because it's more about the fact that he just dies less. He has pretty decent offensive stats, but he's more of a survivalist, and that's what skews that particular number in his favor. The Justice maybe benefit from a little bit more aggression or a little bit more lethality from at least one of their DPS players, but Assassin was also pretty strong when it came to picks like the Echo and such, so if he's not relegated to Sombra duty constantly, perhaps the Justice are able to lean a little bit more into their strengths. Yeah, again, the last time these two played, Matt, it was a knockdown, drag out, no holds barred brawl. I'm seeing like bar stools busted across each other's faces in that series. It was extremely close and very messy, but the Eternal are scrappy. That's how they like to play, but I'm sure they'd love a cleaner finish here to make it into the playoffs, or a chance at least.
And to remind you guys, this is a new patch, right? No hero pools. So we haven't seen these teams in, what, about like 2 weeks now, right? Or a week, so it feels like, you know, time just
it's like 2 weeks.
Fast
yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, where, who knows? Who knows what we're going to see? It's going to be the Justice coming out with a Reinhardt-based composition with the Mei and the Sombra, the Symmetra. This is something we've seen from teams in the past. And then, like you mentioned earlier, Naga being able to play the Echo again.
I'm keeping my eyes on Mag here, Matt. He is unbelievably aggressive on the Reinhardt. When the Justice played the Dallas Fuel on this map, he absolutely MTD'd Fearless, and it was this ridiculous bumper-esque aggression that we saw from him that paved the way. Decay's going to be on the Symmetra as they move to the point here, and remember, Wrecking Ball's changed significantly as well. We'll touch on that later. Immortality Field already gone down, so the Justice feeling pressured early, but only got struggling to get a decent foray. Naga's able to get the finish on Decay with a focusing beam, but it's traded out, and Vistola is desuited and removed. Oh my! Double connection there from Assassin on the Mei, but he has to Ice Block from the Bionade.
Yeah, and the Justice are pretty fortunate to get that kill on a Vistola. It's going to get rezzed up. As I was going to say, with the Justice composition, they got to get the Reinhardt in position to start swinging the Hammer being offensive threat, because you're going to have the Paris Eternal poke from so many different angles.
Good body grenade there from Khan to try and set things up, but Closer has a sound barrier just in time. The duplicated Diva from Naga here yields a free bomb and is going to resuit. It's going to draw a charge out of Mag, who again is going to get hit with a body grenade. There's an Immortality Field in play, but the Minefield's also going to be a bit of an issue. Mag needs to be topped up quickly, but Naga is decimating the rest of the Justice, and the Eternal are in position now to take the point at 42% and counting.
Yeah, and you had Mag try and go for a shatter at the end of that, and I don't even believe he got it off. I believe he ended up dropping right before that. But they're going to make a change, which I agree with this change that we're going to see from the Washington Justice. It's very difficult to get the Reinhardt into a position against this type of composition, even with a Lucio, to where you can charge somebody down. There's not like a static target here for the Paris Eternal. So you're going to go with a Winston-based composition that can close the gap.
Remember, Wrecking Ball gets the adaptive shielding for an extra 2 seconds now. It goes from 7 to 9. That's more durability once they're in the thick of things here, but Naga doesn't really have the defensive cooldowns to rely on, and Decay is able to pick him off. Assassin sets it up with a hack there, clips the wings of the Echo, but Naga's going to be brought back into the fight. Still a brawl on the point here, and Mag is currently sleeping off his last meal. Decay going to be holding onto the Pulse Bomb here, and he doesn't need to use it on Dan. Again, Naga's being pressured, but he's able to find Baby with the sticky bombs there. It's a Moira taken out of the mix. That's such a high-value kill. Fury down to Vestola here, and Naga should be able to clean this one up as well. The Eternal maintain control of the point, and now the Justice are going to sweat.
And that's really the Eternal supports coming up big there. We saw from Decay's POV, they're trying to put pressure on the Khan. Dritro uses the Valkyrie, able to heal Khan and to actually play from the point and contest. You're going to see Decay take out Onigod here, so maybe they make something out of it, but keeping Khan alive there was huge for the Eternal.
Winning the 1v1, crucial for Decay. Assassin still in position now with the EMP, but there's a duplicated Diva in the mix. Both Divas are going to have those mechs turned off for now. It was a Nano Boost deployed onto, it looks like Vistola there at some point. And here comes that minefield. Closer's going to be able to get the knockoff kill of Vistola, but Baby couldn't fade away from the minefield. It's 83% and counting now. Both teams relatively evenly matched in this fight as Closer goes for that sound barrier. Decay's looking for a juicy target for this Pulse Bomb, but he needs to guarantee a kill, and in the meantime, Khan is able to deal with Assassin. The bloodthirsty support from the Eternal really making it hard to pick him off in the backline. Onigod also has a Pulse Bomb to spare, but now it's time to go. It doesn't stick. Mag's able to jump away from it there. Decay though connects with Khan, and that's the difference the Justice needed to make in this fight. Still some cleanup work to be done though, as Decay must recall, but it's looking good, Matt, for the Justice.
In the end, it will be good for the Justice, but it did not look good for a while there. The Khan kill onto Assassin, he actually connects with a Sleep Dart onto Assassin, and then gets some help to finish him off. So really the supports for the Paris Eternal come up big, getting them to 99% of the point. You're going to have a Nano here and Valkyrie, so you're still not out of this yet if you're the Washington Justice. You ended up having to use your support ults to get into the point there just to take it. With a Nano, a good Nano boost here onto, potentially it's Pistola. You could even use it on Naga or Onigod. Could seal a deal for this first point for the Eternal.
Matchup looking as scrappy as the last so far. Here we go. Naga goes in with their nano boost there, but he's not able to find a kill. It's Khan that gets hacked in the back line. But Decay doesn't know what's coming for him. Naga turns back around and peels, removes the tracer from the equation, and Mag can't get away from the focusing beam. It was Khan, in fact, to finish the kill. Now the Eternal, blood's in the water, and they can taste it. They want to move to the point here, but Naga, after duplicating the Sombra, is hacked. He still might have an EMP here, though. Translocate to make it more effective. It's only going to catch Fury, but the D.Va doesn't have the mobility during the duration of this hack. Fury has to stand off the point and actually gets desuited. Vestala on the other side, though, is able to eat Decay's Pulse Bomb, and Assassin has to get out. Then EMP connects with the whole back line, and that's a huge setup for Decay to go in. Resurrect here could be big, and Naga's back in the fight. Still in overtime, Matt, and that closes Sound Barrier.
Yeah, and it's going to push the Eternal off of the point for just a little bit, and yeah, Vistola got knocked off. That'll be the Justice stealing away that first point. But like you talked about in the pregame, this one's going to be a brawl, I feel like, all the way to the end. Both of these teams pretty evenly matched, where you saw at times the Justice being able to force certain things with compositions that maybe the Eternal didn't change to something to kind of counter it fast enough, where looks like both teams going to go with something drastically different here. We'll see if the Eternals stay on the Tracer. No, it'll be the Sim Mei with the Reinhardt from both sides. So seeing the Reinhardt come back into the mix here early.
Yeah, it looks like many of our teams are gravitating towards the Reinhardt rush composition. Mag had to switch, though, dealing with the Wrecking Ball in that previous round. Here, he'll get himself a Reinhardt mirror match against Darm, which is likely what he's looking for. Maywall goes up early here from Assassin. That's going to force Naga to ice block because he didn't really have any support there. Mag a little bit low now. TP thrown down by Onigod just to be able to get into the back line, and now he's charged up and ready to go. It might be a little bit too late, though. Yeah, Naga and Dan already down as Mag wins a frontline fight.
Yeah, it's getting that ice block out early. He got it out of Naga. He had an ice block because he gets caught off by the wall. Doesn't have that. You still have Assassin with his wall again, and then the ice block. But really, just the push and the aggression from the Justice. It was Decay doing a ton of damage up front, charged up on the Symmetra. So how do we see the Paris Eternal go back and attack this? They didn't really have anything to work with. This will be an Ant Matrix shot from Bebe. It's actually pretty far up. It's like almost like halfway up between the players on the Eternal, so not a great Ant Matrix.
Shadow block there by Mag, but then his shadow goes awry as well. The Sound Barrier, great timing from Dredro there. And he gets 2 kills in that fight to environmental kills, man. Fury tried to get cute. He tried to wrap around behind the Eternal and eat up a lot of their damage. Dredro turns 180 and boops Fury off of the map on that left side room just there. Great awareness here from the Frenchman.
And I would love to know how much actual damage you were able to get from the Justice's Ant Matrix there, because it really looked like nothing as we see Dredro go back, escort Khan back to the point. The Ant Matrix on Bebe is placed in such an awkward position. There's no opportunity to get any damage on through it, which is such a huge, impactful ultimate. You see it come out here from Khan early.
Too close to the front line. Assassin goes down just before the Symmetra wall came up, and it's an icicle that claims him, but Dan falls. He's going to get hit by the Fire Strike, and Naga can't make the Blizzard work. He has no idea where it went, but Fury was sat there waiting for it. The Justice don't control the point quite yet, and there's still some cleanup to be done. Without Mag in the equation here, the previous heroics from the Justice may be for naught. Closer, though, getting his hands dirty now, and Dredro's not going to be able to escape. Unless... Okay, don't know how he slipped away there. Fury going to be laser carved out of his mech now, and Assassin wants to push up with this Blizzard, but no one's going to get caught inside of that. It's Decay coming back into the fight with 2 kills that secures it.
And they have to invest the Blizzard towards the end, and then Naga take out Fury, so Fury was not in a mech. They'll take him out, but now you have 4 players here for the Paris Eternal. You're going to have a slight advantage in this next fight. You're going to have a 1-player advantage for a little bit of time.
Dan wants to push up here, sees the Maywall to the left-hand side, but doesn't want to commit too heavily. Maglow goes for the shatter anyway, he's going to catch Dan, and Cardi got forward that! Absolutely massive! And he doesn't overcommit. No charge there, just hammer swing, knowing Decay and Co will help clean up. Fantastic Reinhardt play from Mag.
And this is what Mag has looked the best at during the season, right? It's really been his Reinhardt and his Winston where he's excelled. It's really been the struggles on the ball compositions where it's been a little bit of a letdown. You see just kind of using the shield to scout here, trying to get a Maywall off of this. But that'll be a TP and then a sound barrier from behind.
The Justice will be better off not fighting this, you almost have to think. Symmetra Wall's in place, so they're going to try and get cute around that one. Bebe goes for the amplification matrix, but doesn't seem in position to make much offensive use of that ability. And the wall comes second from the Eternal. Shatter came in from Darm, but it doesn't look like they're able to follow up on it to a great degree. It's just Decay to fall, and it's a trade of Symmetras in the end. Blizzard here from Assassin. That one doesn't tickle for the Eternal. The self-destruct is avoided for the most part, and Mag misses a charge, but Dana's going to be on the wrong side of that wall. Assassin late into the fight, having a huge impact on this May. Matthew faced a lot of criticism, but right now, it's an icy road. He's paving the way to victory for the Washington Justice, and they're going to take away Lijiang Tower.
Yeah, and it happens a little bit towards the end, I believe, as Naga's coming back in. Fury eats the Blizzard for the second time. But yeah, you got two Blizzards out of Assassin, and then out of Naga, you had the Blizzards being eaten by Fury in these May compositions. Such an impactful ultimate as the Justice, they take this map number 1, but very close.
Absolutely. These Ryan compositions, make for a bit of a brawl, and these two teams love to do just that. Good start for the Washington Justice, though. They look more comfortable in this hero pool. The question remains, can the Eternal find their niche as well? Stick around. Map number 2, of course, is coming up after this.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
And by popular demand, everybody, the Fan Download Center is back. You can share your favorite team's pride with wallpapers, profile pictures, banners, and more. Head to overwatchleague.com to access and download your fan pack. Matthew, what have we learned, at least about the current state of the meta, or at least sort of these teams' strengths from map 1? How much can we really glean from that as the Justice obviously go to a lead early?
I think we can take a little bit from it in the sense that we did see Winston, we just saw some Reinhardt, we saw some compositions that we've seen from in the past. But I do think as time goes on, right, this will turn into a meta that's probably pretty map dependent, like we've seen throughout the entire year, where we really haven't had like one dominant meta. Like there's also been different things you can play on different maps and different styles. And Temple of Anubis will be next year, as this will be a Paris Eternal pick. I think we'll definitely learn a little bit more as the series goes on. I would venture to say that Wrecking Ball probably won't be as dominant as he was, with like the Lucio back in the mix, in really kind of Lucio just opens up so many different compositions, right? So I think we're in for a playoff that is going to have many different styles that you can play, and then force depending on map pick.
And I mean, I guess the Eternal and the Justice are in a maybe less enviable position where they have to be sort of the first to step out onto the stage and show what they've been working on. A lot of other teams are watching, and there's still a lot of time for us to settle into a metagame dictated by what this sort of patch looks like. For those wondering, there's a couple key changes, right? Some may be less impactful than others. We discussed the Roadhog change. Obviously, Genji gets extra damage on his shurikens, but he's less damage on the Dragon Blade now. And Doomfist gets his cooldowns back much quicker while he's using Meteor Strike. So a little bit easier to come out of that ability and still be able to perform your full combo and make people really upset. So, and that's just to name a couple of the changes here. It seems like having these heroes back from hero pool exclusion, though, is made more of an impact for these teams when deciding what to play. We might get some Assassin on the Echo here and Decay on the Reaper guy.
Yeah, so Echo Reaper, which is interesting. I mean, they are running the Winston on defense, so you can definitely punish pretty hard here. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we haven't seen Reaper in so long, right? But I mean, right there, that's exactly what I was talking about. They just punish Dawn. I mean, Visola nowhere close, and they just run him down.
He's just really not one for subtlety, is he? Decay just turns straight up, absolutely rolls on towards Dawn, teleports forward, I think, onto the platform. The Eternal, I mean, maybe should have expected the Justice would want to brawl after that first map, but the composition still looks like it took them by surprise. Naga got hit with like a full face of sticky bombs early in that fight and had to drop altitude.
The Reaper also makes sense in a world in which you're running Moira Lucio, right? If you were running a different support line, a Lucio plus something else, or maybe even you wanted to run, on a break, maybe the Reaper doesn't fit into that, but with the close quarter nature of the Moira and the Reaper, I mean, that makes total sense. Nice pulse bomb there by Onigod, picking up 2.
I mean, that's just perfect. You get both DPS for that one. I don't think either of them are ready. There might have even been a stick to the Echo. So tough for Assassin to find a way to protect his team from the blast if he doesn't have his flight cooldown available. Fury gets caught there. They'd love to... There's no defense matrix to prevent that from happening. That's a nasty extra stagger from Naga. Nicely done.
He gets slapped
from Khan. Yeah, it's Mr. Idge is back in business,
So you'll wait for Fury, come back in. This is probably a really good attempt for the Justice to be able to take Primal, Coalescence, Sound Barrier, and Duplicate. Lots of big ultimates. Look for Khan to potentially nano Dawn, try and build up towards a Primal. Just be a nuisance in the backline.
Smooth forehead, wrinkled brain for Khan. Because the Germans causing a lot of problems for the Justice so far, but he's a sound barrier and they just launch forward. Again, the pace they can access with his Lucio Moro composition is hard for the Eternal to deal with. Khan goes down early in the fight, which means their healing is lacking, and Dredro was midway through rally. He's now gone as well. Naga can't make ends meet with a duplicated Reaper ultimate, and that might be done already. The Justice now set up on the point. 1 tick for them already. The Eternal try and respond here. What do they switch to? Maybe nothing at this stage here as they're going to try and make it work with these compositions. It's another missed pulse bomb there from Onigod after getting 2 at his last one. Can't catch them all, I guess, but 86.7% already for the Justice, and they are far from done. Khan's in deep trouble. He's going to get pincered there in the back line, and Dawn is just a second too late with a Primal Mat.
Yeah, and the Eternal end up nanoing Dridro there on the Brig, and really nice adjustment by the Justice. They just run right past it, right to the corner, and you see what that's going to lead to here is players just jumping onto the point one by one for Paris, just trying to draw this out as long as possible.
Decay knows that they have to backtrack, they have to back up as he just plows towards his goal. He'll catch Only God there out of a blink with the Death Blossom, and that's 355 to count for the Justice. That is a nasty composition. Yeah. We're familiar with it, right? We saw a lot of it in the June Joust, but the Lucio Moira rears its head again, and it's still just as potent.
Well, it's so interesting that the Justice, they sound barrier, and they're coming straight down the middle towards the point. And the reaction by the Eternal is to use the Nano onto the Brig. I believe Jojo may have even had Rally at that point.
Yes.
But he's on the point, he's nanoed. And what do the Justice do as soon as they see that? They make a beeline for that right corner, and they end up jumping right on top of Khan. They get to kill onto him. And then because that push comes in, Vistol has to cross the point with Defense Matrix, trying to get all the way to that corner. And they get to kill onto him there. And the Nano Brig on the point doesn't really serve to do much, because they're never actually taking that engagement up close. It's a really nice call there from the Justice.
Yeah, there's rally healing, but there's no Inspire uptime to make up for the lack of Khan in that situation. So yeah, I mean, Dridro is more durable under Nano and a bit of a raid boss in that regard, but they're not. The Eternal aren't fighting in a way that allows them to benefit from that increased healing from Brig sort of swinging the flail. So not an ideal scenario for the Eternal. You see what the plan is, though, and it's a decent plan B in the absence of Khan, who's able to get the Nano off before he drops. But the Justice, again, they're very, very fast. The Eternal need to be quick on their toes to respond to this comp. And we're going to see Decay on the Cowboy here, Matthew, on defense. Yeah. Interesting.
Cowboy May. So this is a very, older bunker type of composition, especially with the Batiste in the mix. Well, this is one where they're asking Don to just dive up and see if he can live on through it. And he'll go to Wrecking Ball. So really interesting, where the Justice are reverting to a little bit of older compositions that maybe were popular beginning of the season. And to counter those, the Eternal are going back to things that we saw in the previous tournament, where we see the Pharah, the Hangzhou, Decay just plucks the Pharah out of the sky. But very interesting strategy here by the Eternal to go towards more of these newfound compositions.
Look, one team that really got a lot of mileage out of the Cowboy, Matthew, is the Seoul Dynasty. They had Fitz on McCree as often as possible, and he really had a huge impact with some incredible stats that really suited their slow, their more bunker-based composition. So is he here? Decay's doing just that. I mean, perfect player to have on this role.
You can also play this because you do have Lucio back into the hero pool, because you get to a spot where you have to kind of usher the Reinhardt around. You can do that now. He gains that mobility, where in the previous tournament with hero pools, you didn't have the Lucio in the mix. You couldn't do that. You had to play something more mobile like a Winston, which then starts to negate stuff. You're not going to play Winston made, right? I mean, you're not going to play some of these odder comps. So really eliminated that from even happening. That is another. I mean, there's been nothing here from the Eternal. Yeah.
You have to have some kind of cojones to try and go against Decay on the Cowboy with anything airborne, right? Naga is that kind of player, which is fine, but Decay is punishing the Pharah pick in a big way. There might have to be a switch here.
And they also hunt down Only God. They don't allow him, once they know where he is, they don't allow him to just throw translocators, get into the back line. And we can't see it on the screen here, but you see up on the bridge, and you're like, well, where's Fury? Fury is out in the back, just kind of poking at Don constantly. Don was in the spawn. Fury just tracking him the entire way.
Okay, Fury gets manually hacked here, so there's no one to really stop this barrage from coming in, and Naga finally gives an account of himself on this Pharah. Concussive blast away. Sees that self-destruct go in there from Fury, and now he wants to dive further into the back line. The Justice get out with the Lucio speed boost. And they're going to have a chance for a recontest here.
Yeah, you will. It looks like we're going to have Closer go back, get Mag back up into the fight, but they should have Fury be able to touch. They got off the point.
Yeah, they tried to push up here into okay, Mag. Okay, so there's an assumption about the Eternal playing around that corner. They're just not. A lot of them get take to the sky. It's pretty hard to find good value with that Shatter against his composition anyway, so you got to be reasonable about it.
This Amp Matrix is huge, though.
Yep, Decay playing around it. We've seen the Justice go for this. Decay through the Amp Matrix on the Cowboy, and he cleans up Vistola. And there's nothing more to be done here for the Paris Eternal, and they're running out of time. It's less than a minute remaining for them to get point A.
Yeah, and you're gonna lose probably both supports here.
Trouble.
Great body grenade. He's able to stay out. I mean, that is incredible there.
Fury might have gone too far as well. Picks up the mini, tries to get away. Only got it on the Widowmaker now, and I think Decay's aware of this.
Yeah, and he's got the Deadeye. So playing to this side, they actually may want them to push up a little bit and try and get him an angle.
Oh my! Assassin just gets mulched there by only got at point-blank range. He finds another headshot before dropping down. Baby loses that immortality field now, and the Eternal are looking much healthier. Self-destruct on the corner doesn't affect anyone from the Justice, but they are looking haggard as all heck. Trying to move on to the point here, but only got is not missing right now. Closer gets taken down by Naga. And the Eternal come up with the goods here at the last few seconds. 3 minutes to play with.
Right, can you run this for this next checkpoint though? You're gonna have the Onigod switch, so this puts Washington in a position to win this map and you know, do it pretty. You don't want to say easily, but right, you know, they withstand this next push where you have Nano, Valkyrie, and Barrage. You're then going to start to get rolling on some of these ultimates like EMP and Nano for the Justice, and that may be enough to do it.
Barrage here from Naga. Nano boost as well, just to secure kills. Self-destruct there from Fury does very little, but Decay's able to find Dan. Team effort though, looks like there was a hack involved there. He'll be brought back into the fight though, and the Justice need to try and regroup as quickly as possible. Naga doesn't want to give them that opportunity, but a huge sleep dart. That's a massive connection there. Naga now has to sleep on the high ground. Assassin would love to get there, but he's got to deal with the Tracer first. Defensive body grenade there from Bebe after a ridiculous sleep, and that's going to stop the Eternal in their tracks, Matt.
Oh, yeah. I mean, 2 minutes on the clock, not a ton of time. And I wonder if you switch off of this Pharah here. I don't know if you can actually attack with this. Yeah, so they go over and they'll play the Echo. But, yeah, things are... I mean, the Justice, this is how we thought the Justice would play throughout the year, right? And maybe it's just at times they have not been able to play these compositions that they heavily favor. As Vistola switches off to get any mech back. But, I mean, look at this, Mitch. You have an EMP here, but they'll probably play close, go for an EMP. Then you have the opportunity to nano, mag, with a primal or without the primal, just even get it. And with these changes for the Paris Eternal, you've reset some of the ultimates on some big key players.
Yeah, they got to go aggressive now, the Justice. Mag was getting a little bit low and didn't quite have his primal rage, so they had to use their nano, but that's all really they use. The Justice get aggressive behind that, and they get a lot of value. The Eternal are in a sort of an ultimate percentage trough right now. So they don't have a lot really to leverage here with 1 minute remaining.
And what, 3 fights where in a row where Vistola has to switch off and reset ultimate charge on D.Va? I mean, that is brutal. So you still have this EMP here as the Assassin just lurking.
Looking at Khan. Dridro never too far away. Maybe just a little bit of... Okay, straight for the EMP, and it's the back line that's hit hardest. Khan picked off instantly. Vistola's going to get hit with a hack, and Closer goes for the insurance policy of the sound barrier there. The Justice get another fight win, Matt. We're under 30 seconds. The Eternal look a little listless.
Well, this is what I meant by that first fight was going to be Paris's best opportunity, because you were going to have this happen for the Justice, where they're going to be cycling these ultimates so effectively. We've seen so many teams do on Anubis, as Decay now has a pulse bomb, you have Primal Rage active, there's going to be Khan dropping right away.
I don't know about the opportunity for a back cap here, Matthew. Naga's able to pick off Closer. Yeah, but Fury was ready for it. He drops back. Naga's also going to be caught in the sights of Assassin, and he will be removed. And the Justice, a convincing beginning to this series now. They go up 2 maps to 0. And they really have a handle on more than one composition here on the Temple of Anubis. And that's the hallmark of a team that may make playoffs, Matt. They've got multiple looks right now, and they're serving them up hot.
And this is a team that I think a lot of people would be scared to play, because they can play like this. They have that type of talent where I think the Paris Eternal, you know, they played fine today. It's just the Justice are on another level these first 2 maps.
Well, the Paris Eternal now, this is a first to 3 series like many that they've been in before. Now they need to hang on. This was their map pick. It doesn't go at all well. They need a response here to what the Justice have, and they need it right about now. Map 3 is coming up.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by TeamSpeak, the official voice supplier of the Overwatch League.
Spirits definitely high as we head over towards our watch party here in DC at the Justice HQ. And it's a good time to turn up and support your team. Crucial games here for the Washington Justice. Everyone from here on out is a must win. And a good start, Matthew. 2 maps to 0 here in this series. The Paris Eternal look a little, wow, geez, a little unprepared for this extreme pace that the Justice are bringing. And Washington, like I said before, they've got multiple looks to serve up, and they're all looking pretty well oiled.
Yeah, those fans have been waiting probably a few weeks to clap.
Well, a bit more than that, but yeah. I mean, I don't know, unless they're yeah.
Hey, look, I can say that because I'm a Giants fan, so I know what it's like to never be able to cheer. So I get it. But yeah, I mean, this is a Justice team.
I mean, just ask a Philly fan.
That looks good.
Ask a Fusion fan, Matt. you know what it's like. Hey,
Suna comes in here for Onigod, so this tells you they probably want to play a little bit more like Tracer, kind of 24/7 potentially on this next, maybe even Cowboy. Yeah, so
I mean, these
we'll see, but
Yeah, these are all only god heroes as well. It just seems like when Suni gets subbed in, it's very specific, and he tends not to switch around too much. The Cowboy might be there, but yeah, we definitely think the Tracer's going to be in the mix here.
The Justice just seem to be rolling today, though, man. Like, and it makes you wonder, where has this team been at other points during the season, right? Now, we've seen them at the beginning, right? I believe, it was the May Melee, they got like a 4-0 start. Like, where is that team gone and the team we're seeing today gone? I feel like, with a little bit more consistency, this team would not be in this position, right, where they're a 6th seed having to play in the opening round of the play-in. They've just been very good here today, which obviously you celebrate, but you would have liked to see this for more of the season.
Sure, I mean, but this is how we test teams. This is how we put them through their paces throughout the course of the Overwatch League season. It's never just one metagame, right? You test every element of a team, from its players to its analysts to its coaches, its staff, and all of that, because, well, the metagame fluctuates drastically based on, what our hero pools look like. Teams had to adapt, they had to study, and most importantly, they have to prepare really well. Now the Justice can go back to a lot of the elements that really worked for them. This is a chance for teams to go back to, not just comfortable picks, but compositions that really benefit them at the individual and at the team level. So that's what we've seen so far from the Justice anyway. Mag hasn't had to mess around with the Wrecking Ball, and we've seen good tank play from him.
Though, with Anubis as a map pick, right? Some of these maps that we've seen picked so far, they fall right into the wheelhouse of what the Justice would want to do, right? Hey, we want to play fast with a Tracer Sombra, with a Winston, or we want to play, this kind of Reinhardt Brawly style of play. And maybe those are the two metas we just kind of shake out, and it's unavoidable, right? But so far, these maps have lend themselves really well towards the Justice style of play and what they would want to do.
At the same time, I'd say that the Eternal want to play Echo, they want to play Ana, and they probably want to play D.Va. So any compositions that feature those three is probably where they want to be. It just so happens that the Justice feel pretty well tech for these setups as well, but teams trade supports here. Bebe has gone down, so not a lot of sort of healing capacity left for the Justice on this attacking side, and it's hard to keep someone like Mag alive as a result. Still, a tick here would be nice to go home with, and that's what the Justice get. Little boop there by Closer to send the Eternal airborne, make it harder for them to contest the point here. Buys a bit of extra time for the Justice, but looks like it'll just be the one tick for them, Matthew.
Yeah, they won't be able to get away with anything else. Bebe is such a large source of the healing, as you're going to lose 2 players. So Assassin's still behind enemy lines. Just going to constantly hack the health packs, try and get some damage down, farm up that EMP. Decay will move away from Tracer and go to the Reaper again. So I think this is because you're running the Lucio Moira. You can obviously play way closer together. Reaper still has decent mobility with Wraith form and then the teleporter. But this is just to try and just run down Don. Just get him scared. Big biotic grenade though there.
It's going to have to be a Wraith War. Keep it, Mag. Doesn't quite have that cooldown. Decay. Oh, man. This guy rides the lightning. He was looking for Naga, who very quickly gained altitude and extricated himself from that potentially dangerous situation. Primal Rage here for Dan. That's a scary one, and here it comes. Fade used instantly there from Bebe. Coalescence now to try and catch his team against the damage here from the Primal Rage, but a Biotic Grenade came in, and that's Decay down as a result. Mag has a Primal of his own here. Winston really where he feels the most comfortable, but what can he do now without the Reaper in the mix? There again, he gets at least 1 kill for every single Primal Rage that he uses, man. He's got an efficiency of 1.0, and he gets Khan, the most important target. A big EMP on the follow-up there from Assassin, and things are coming up Millhouse for the Justice, Matthew.
Yeah, and as soon as they get that first kill on a Khan, they invest the sound barrier, they push on through, Rally comes out, but then the EMP comes from Assassin, and they're able to withstand the rest of the push from the Paris Eternal. No opportunity. Once they're in the middle of that street, with the Winston and the Echo, no mobility. I mean, they're in a lot of trouble, as Naga now will go over to the Reaper himself, so both teams opting to go with the Reaper. I think you're in a better spot here with the Justice. I think the Reaper just synergizes better with the more aggressive style of play that they're trying to do, with the Lucio and the Moira. You're playing probably a little bit more of a defensive kind of counter style if you're Naga, right? With the Brig and the Ana, you're probably trying to protect them a little bit more. Basically kill Mag as he's going in deep for the supports.
Probably he tries to match Decay's positioning as well. Just tries to meet him on any flank routes and make it harder for Decay to just, access the backline easily. Nano boost here on towards Dan though. Decay thinks twice about challenging the Winston in his current state.
They can just disengage though because it's speed boost. Yeah.
Lucio backpedals. Suna, I mean, he knows he's under assassin scrutiny right now, but there's going to be a Death Blossom here, and Vistola can't get away from it. The self-destruct claims Khan, and Bebe even invests the coalescence here. It's more than enough for the Justice.
The Lucio, you cannot, underestimate the power of the speed boost and just being able to disengage there. Dawn and I think a lot of other teams, right? The adjustments having Lucio back in the mix in a previous stage, right? In the previous stage you just had, he gets that nano boost. He's in that kind of close position. He just jumps right over the top of the cart and he's in. There's nowhere the Justice can go. But with that speed boost, they just back out a little bit, and he does not want to go in that deep and commit against the Sombra Reaper. I mean, it's just so deadly.
Eyes on Dan here with the Primal Rage. Oh, we might have a chance to use it here. EMP again catches 4, and Dan is dispatched extremely quickly. Mag finds his way into a small room, and he's accosted Dredro here, realizing he probably can't get the kill though, and that whip shot forces him back again, I think mid-flight. But the Justice get what they want. They get some space, they get a team fight win, they don't have to invest too heavily, and they have a sound barrier for the next fight.
Yeah, and Mag jumps up, pushes the supports back a little bit further. This is going to allow a few seconds for Closer to get back, and he's going to have that beat.
Suna got manually hacked. He's in deep trouble. He can't blink away. Naga now trying to do something in the middle of the fight, but he's walked straight into a defense matrix, and he gets picked up by Assassin, who gets 2 kills already on both DPS, no less. Decay stunned out of that Death Blossom there by the Brig. It's frustrating, but there's a coalescence in the fight to keep him vital. And Suna's going to struggle. He has to recall inside his own spawn, basically. Bebe just dishing out the skill orbs here. Obviously, Moira getting more health back per second makes a difference in fights like this, and the Justice finished with 250 on the clock. They have not slowed down for 1 second since this series started.
No, and the Reaper switch for the Paris Eternal did not work out. They never got Naga in a position where, one, he could either punish Mag for getting onto the supports, or get him in a position to really put a lot of pressure on Bebe or Closer. With the Lucio and then the Moira Fade, there's a lot that they can do to get out of those situations against the Reaper. And, I mean, what do you do here if you're the Paris Eternal on offense? Do you try and play, the same type of thing, right, and get aggressive? Because you already figure the Justice kind of have your number in that type of game, right? We've seen that. Do you try and play something a little bit slower, more Reinhardt-oriented? With the way they're kind of looking right now, maybe it's like a Reinhardt, like Cowboy May. They can still change, but man, I feel like the Paris Eternal are in such a difficult position right now.
That timing there was beautiful. Unclear whether sort of Assassin tracks Dan's ultimate and just tries to catch him, or if Dan just sort of fell into the EMP at the time, but that really takes the wind out of the Eternal sails. They had, that was their best chance with the ultimates that they had, and the Justice use a couple in that fight themselves here. It wouldn't shock me to see the Eternal come out with, something like this. Maybe they're afraid to go for an Echo because they know that it takes some time to ramp up with the Echo in these fights, and the Justice can speed in with that Reaper. They can hack the Echo manually. So they're going to go for a Sombra Reaper combo of their own with the Reinhardt for Dan and the Baptiste for Khan.
Yeah, so they don't want to play the Moira. Obviously, no, on a break. This is trying to get Dawn in a position.
Oh! Suna's in trouble. His translocator's been removed by Assassin. He hacks him as well from behind. But the Justice have no way of picking him out of the massive Eternal plays by the looks of things here. This is looking much better here for Paris.
It's also so much damage onto Mag. With the Reinhardt hammers, the ability to be hacked, and then, goodbye. And then the Reaper, you have to consider potential switches here, I think, for the Justice.
I mean, that was a concession from the Washington Justice. Many of them getting knocked off there, but I don't really think they were intending to do too much more in that fight without Mag.
Oh, this is, so they go, instead of going with a Reaper here, they're actually going to bring in a Symmetra. So this will give them even more mobility with the teleporters. But I think the plan here, okay, so they'll go May as well. Their plan here is to drag these fights out long. The longer these fights go, the better it's going to be for the Justice, right? Because Decay will eventually just kind of outscale everybody in terms of damage output.
So we see a bit of a longer neutral game with these compositions, right? The Ryan's trying to trade a little bit here. The Waldo is a big change. Naga goes in, gets rid of Bebe early up, and you can see just how charged Decay is. Forces Naga away, but Mag a little bit too far forward there. So as good as this comp is for the Justice, they don't have a lot to really deal with the Reaper. Naga just walks in there. After getting rid of Bebe, it's on for young and old. There's no one who really can stop him. No CC there.
It's a nice manual hack by Soon to start things off, and then now you're in a spot where you can roll through this second checkpoint if you're the Eternal. For the Justice, you're just trying to maybe hope to force an ultimate out here or two. Obviously, best case would be win the fight, but not likely with everything on the table here.
Mag's able to step up and touch here. Keep the fight going. Ooh, Assassin's very low and close. Is going to get hit with that EMP. Yeah, nothing to be done here. The Justice will try and stall this out a little bit longer, but they are struggling so far in Numbani after a decent attacking round. The Eternal have a huge time bank here. They haven't even got that second checkpoint. 5:34 on the clock. That's nuts.
And I'm so happy the Eternal didn't come out and just match them again, right? And play the Winston and try and play Tracer. They're actually coming up with a composition that's really given the Justice some trouble now. But this will be the first fight since switching. The Justice actually have some ultimates to work with.
Death Blossom from Naga catches closer again. He's struggled in the last couple of fights. Still hasn't built that sound barrier yet. Now, if the Eternal are giving the Justice a bit of a clouting here, they look quite good on the comp that the Justice has been going to this entire series. So maybe a switch here in philosophy from the Paris Eternal. It's really yielding them a lot of yardage. And they have an Amp Matrix here. They have the sound barrier for this next fight. The Justice have to pull out all the stops. And fortunately, they have them in ample supply.
We'll see, though. I mean, the Eternal have just been rolling. This will be an Amp Matrix. So it looks like Mag was trying to line up the Shatter.
Sound barrier here for both teams. Mag doesn't connect at all, and he gets shattered. Him and Fury knocked to the ground, and Mag is taken down. Despite the sound barrier being in the fight, the Eternal are able to come over the top of it there. Blizzard from Assassin slows things up, and Closer finds a cheeky little double. Can he stay alive, though? Naga pushing forward, and it's unclear how much of that defense matrix Fury has left. This lets Vistola sort of range a bit further away from the fight and chase Bebe down. Mag walks face first into an EMP here, but has the durability just in his base health to stay alive. Assassin on the Tracer is not a common sight here, but it's enough to get the Justice out of jail.
And I think they actually intended for Mag to be the solo recipient of that EMP, because you had Fury there, and he opts to just let the cart get, very close to getting over the line and completing the map. But he doesn't want to get hit with the EMP. It loses the defense matrix, which kind of protects everybody at that moment. So he sidesteps the EMP, gets in a position it's not going to hit him. They just sacrifice Mag, but he lives anyway.
Self-destruct comes out there. Symmetra wall going to make it hard to connect on that, and Naga's probably made it pretty clear where he was going with that teleport. The Symmetra barrier makes it really hard for the Death Blossom to get any value for him, and he brings an ultimate into the fight. Ultimately, it gets nothing, and this is where the Justice have an opportunity to even the ledger in time bank now. The Eternal are going to get staggered here. Vistola obviously no stranger to this phenomenon. With the Rhine shield in the way, it's particularly hard. He's going to try and get himself off to greener pastures as quickly as possible. But the Justice have a lot of ultimates still to spend. It was just the sim wall in that last fight, Matt.
And the thing that's annoying about this composition for the Eternal is the Justice have so many things to stall. Whether it's Lucio, the Immortality Field, Diva, Self-Destruct, New Mech, Ice Block, Sim Wall, right? There's just a lot in the way of them getting the cart over the line. And like we mentioned, these longer fights with the Symmetra in the mix definitely favors her in terms of damage output.
Bebe can get an Immortality Field in that front line and allow Decay to go to work. The Symmetra is devastating. Mag has another shatter here. Last one, not so flash this one. All remains to be seen. Assassin gets picked off by Naga here. So the Justice hope to play a slow and neutral game. They still have a Symmetra charging up. Mag eventually has to make the play. He has to make the move here. Trying to force down and drop the shield if he can. Maybe force the enemy right out of position. There's the Immortality Field. And the Eternal looked like they felt comfortable enough there to stand away from the shield. But they have an EMP to break back in. And with Decay and Mag falling, this might be it. Fury walks onto the Khan and gets rid of Khan with a remake kill. Buys a little bit of time. Crucial time being boarded. Look how healthy he still is. They can't kill him. Across the map, Bebe keeps that Diva alive for quite a while.
I tell you what, though, a flanking remake kill, especially on the Khan, is massive there. You lose the Immortality Field, yeah.
No Baptiste, a big Symmetra wall here makes it hard for the Eternal to actually get damage. It's a net damage reduction here for the Eternal, so much so that they can't afford to fight. They're forced back. Now, Khan is back in the mix here. Self-destruct catches Decay, and I mean, the Justice can't afford to let those kills happen this way. They do freeze Dan, but the Immortality Field may have kept him alive. It wasn't quite placed correctly, though, and this could be devastating for the Eternal, Matthew. It's not over yet, but Naga comes in with a heroic Death Blossom, and the D-suit there on Fury should pave the way. Assassin can't stall for as long as he would have liked, and it's 1:10 that Eternal finish with.
Still a very good hold at the end there from the Justice, considering how good Paris was through the first 2 points. I think finally, you know, after some compositional changes, the Justice started to get some ultimates, really kind of even things up. But Paris looked great when they were playing that Reinhardt-based composition versus some of the stuff we've seen from them on Winston. So I'd love to see them go back to it on offense. They have to, though, be expecting that the Justice will not come out and kind of play maybe that same thing again on defense. Although, I think you can kind of make the argument, I think that's pretty valid, that if you come out with this Reinhardt on defense, it makes it easier for them to run some type of dive, right? Where you might be able to kind of counter-comp them in that regard. So we'll see what happens, but it looks like the Justice going to bank on the Eternal coming out with some Reinhardt-based composition. And they'll counter that with the May plus the Cowboy. So May, Cowboy plus the Reinhardt.
Finishing with as much time as they have for the Justice is huge. I think, look, giving up that first point, it was great play from the Eternal, but definitely miscalculation from Washington and maybe what they should expect to see compositionally. They've had a chance to revise that, and that's why their setup looks so different now with the Cowboy, with the Reinhardt here, and no Moira. So they do have, you know, throughput to match that of the Paris Eternal, who walk out here with Symmetra. So the mobility from the teleport could be crucial here.
60 seconds remaining.
Let's see, we're going to try and go main here. But this is also going to give Decay some really nice sight lines. And yeah, I mean, he's going to be able to take out 2 from a distance.
Oh, that's so nasty. Fastest gun in the West. Dridro's able just to skirt away. Vestala hot on his heels. And that's pretty nasty for the Paris Eternal. This is where they were supposed to really start their comeback, but despite having a better time bank after point B than the Justice, they slowly get ground down. And now they're at the risk of just, well, disappearing altogether, Matthew.
And what do? You can't just face plant the TP into the entire team and just kind of run down Decay. And you have nobody that can provide damage at long range to be able to do so. And they put a teleporter into the back line, but gets destroyed straight away.
The wall doesn't do anything there either. It doesn't let them catch anyone. And now the Ant Matrix, the Eternal might have to drop off the high ground now and give it over to the Justice. That could be their undoing here. High ground advantage for Washington. Mag sees a wall come up, but didn't have a shatter anyway. It's away with Fire Strike that catches Naga. The shatter there not nearly as fancy, but Mag doesn't do it that way. He does it the old-fashioned way. Swing and hammer. Dridro now, under the scrutiny of Decay, will crumble, and so do the Eternal on this attack. That's a full hold here in extra innings for the Justice, and their way forward is clear.
And it puts the Eternal in the same type of dilemma that I was just talking about for the Justice. The Justice come out with a Reinhardt-based composition, although not with the Sim May. They have the Cowboy in the mix, which Decay is able to control the high ground, put down tons of unanswered damage at range. It puts Vistola in a difficult position. You know, he can't just kind of fly to the high ground, abandon Dawn, because he's just going to get swung on. So what do? They really didn't have an answer for that. If you're the Eternal, what do you do on defense? Do you try and come out with the Winston and the Tracer, right? Do you come out with a Reinhardt-based look? I think if you're the Justice will probably have more of an appetite to play something that's a little bit more fast-paced, whether it's the Moira Lucio with the Reinhardt and the Reaper, or you know, Winston with that type of variation of support. And you can see Decay, I mean, not taking any damage, right? I mean, this entire thing at full HP.
There's a few things that contribute to that, though. I think that the Eternal not catching anyone with the May Wall and then having to face an Ant Matrix down, you automatically have to drop off the high ground. Yeah, you render that Matrix useless, but that means that Decay gets to play for the high ground map, and he drops whenever he pleases. And he does. He gets 2 kills on the way down. He has that high ground advantage. The Eternal had no choice but to put themselves in like a weaker position. 1 tick, 2 minutes 47 on the clock. The Eternal are going to have to hold out for a long winter here as the Justice look to close this series.
The Justice fans probably got worried once they saw this Wrecking Ball composition come out, but they're going to play. They're going to go and play the Reinhardt. So both teams actually ended up in a mirror matchup here.
TP to the opposite high ground. Okay, that's fruity, man.
And that negates that. You're not going to take the TP if you're the Eternal, and that ruins anything they could have got with the Sim.
Oh, Mr. Chick-fil-A, I don't feel so good. Khan, the Immortality Field's been taken down. Vesela is desuited, and the Justice stand tall. It's been a proud season for the Paris Eternal. A very ambitious project here. Players that previously weren't featured in the Overwatch League and playing entirely from Europe, but now, at this point, their rooster is cooked. It's going to be the Justice advancing to take on the Shock.
And this is a Justice that I don't know. Yeah, I mean, Shock is going to have a choice, right?
I know we get to pick, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't think they'll be too thrilled to pick a team that looks like this, to be honest.
Maybe not. Maybe the Shock choose the other match.
Yeah, we'll see what happens in the other match. I think they'll probably choose from that. But this is a Justice team today that, look, they can go back to playing some of the compositions that they looked really good at. They're still really good at them. And they're just a little bit inconsistent on the day-to-day. I think for the Paris Eternal, they had a tremendous year. I thought everybody from the players to the staff really, over-exceeded expectations that, a lot of the community had. So I even think, a loss here for Paris, you still feel really great. I know a lot of younger players on this roster, players that you can use to build towards the future. They got a really good structure, with a Vala and Get Amaze. So I think really good season here from the Paris Eternal, all things considered.
Yep. Put simply, this team is expected to be bottom two in the West. I think when we tallied it up in terms. They actually end up mid-table here with a really impressive record. And they gave us some great moments. Incredible roster of players. The addition of Vistola, really gave this team a boost. And their prospects going forward are really good. Player of the match, though, today, of course, hails from the Washington Justice. And probably no surprise here, it is going to be Decay. It's Decay or bust for this team at times. And Assassin had a much better series on the Sombra. I think buying the dip is a good idea, as Johnny sort of put it. But again, the McCree switch later on was great. We talked about Decay being a survivalist on that Tracer. This time he really bared his fangs and made his way into the back line. Big difference maker with the Reaper guy as well.
And he almost ruined the playoffs last year. He looks to be kind of on that same trajectory this year. He is the type of player that can take over a game. We saw it last year. We've even seen it in years previous, although it hasn't resulted in wins at the highest level. If you put him on a team where there's talent around and you play around him and empower him to kind of go off, he will go off.
I think it's
rarely
important.
See him have bad games.
It's important to point out that Overwatch is a game that I think is centered around team play more than many, right? There are a lot of shooters that
absolutely.
Really allow individuals to just habitually pop off and be the center of the show. But in Overwatch, you really need to be a transcendental talent to have that kind of performance consistently. When we're giving this guy player of the match over and over again in a game like Overwatch, where it's less about that individual, more about the team.
Yeah.
He receives a lot of resources, to be fair, and this puts Assassin in a position where he has to be that lower economy player. But he converts on that, right? It's a very efficient way of taking his team's effort and turning it into results here. Great series from Fury as well. I want to point that out. Had some huge ultimate
Fury
there as well. Tried to get a little bit cute at times on Lijiang Tower, but it was definitely clear that Justice feel much more comfortable. Mag, very aggressive on the Reinhardt. His Winston Reinhardt stats are actually really good. So, a recency bias might make people think that this team is sort of not one to be respected, but they're in a position now where they get to show their strengths. They've got a lot of them on the roster. That's why, Matt, we had them so high on our bloody power rankings at the start of the season. We could identify that potential. It wasn't even unrealized potential. It was clear the quality of the players on this team.
Yeah, not a normal 6 seed, right? No, they go through a really rough patch. They look like they couldn't contend with even teams of the like of the Eternal, but when things click for this team, I really think it starts to center around Mag being able to play the Winston, play the Reinhardt in those type of rush brawl lead style compositions that open things up for this team. They look very scary.
And no one wants to pick this team to go up against in the next round, but one of them is going to have to. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back, but after that, we're going to catch up with Decay, of course, with some winning words from the Washington Justice as they advance here in our play-ins. Stick around, more from that later.
캡 있어요.
나
시메코.
나이스.
메인 오신.
지를게 이거.
나 존나 때리는 중.
메인 오신.
나 이거 캐리.
진짜 인정. 와, 지렸다 저거나.
왜 내려와 있냐?
3대0. 메인가요. 아니, 깔끔했다.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
This entire series is a statement.
Would you say this is contenders?
Overwatch contenders.
There he goes for the environmental. There was nowhere else for him to go. Can I see that Deadeye come out for Cloud? Oh, Reckless! Barrage coming in for this one. He's just spraying through the point.
On time with that interception. Here comes the bomb. Will they be able to split away from it? No, they won't.
Mitzi gets stunned out of breath floods!
Alexander the Great.
I'm ready for this blade to come out. Good old classic Overwatch. It's the Nano Blade 3K. Nikits is on the Widow, forcing these supports off plat. What supports, I say? Where did this shatter come from for Lulsish?
American Tornado once again, grand final winners.
Welcome to Game Break, everybody. We're joined now by Decay from Washington Justice. Decay, congratulations on the win. 자, Decay 선수 인터뷰에 참여해주신 거 감사드리면서 오늘 승리 너무나 축하드립니다.
네, 감사합니다.
All right, let's jump right into the questions. So it's been nearly a month since we last saw Justice play. I think your last match was August 8th, if I remember correctly. How did you guys prepare for the play-ins in the month amount of time? 첫 번째 질문은 워싱턴 팀을 저희가 마지막으로 본 게 8월 8일인 걸로 제가 기억을 하거든요. 거의 한 달 정도가 됐는데 이 한 달 동안 이 플레이인을 위해서 시즌 플레이인을 위해서 좀 어떻게 준비를 하셨나요?
저희가 저번 스테이지까지는 이제 좀 메타에 따라 맞는 픽을 준비하다 보니까 이제 좀 어려운 게 좀 많았는데 이번에 플레이는 저희가 잘하는 거 하자, 잘하는 거 연습해서 이제 그냥 보여주는 걸로 연습을 해가지고 좀 그렇게 연습했던 것 같아요.
Right. So last tournament, you know, we really had to practice and use and follow the meta because there was a hero pool involved, so we had to practice around those hero pools that were involved in the last tournament. So it was pretty difficult and it wasn't really easy for the Washington Justice and our team. But coming into the play-ins, because there's no hero pools, we really wanted to play to our strength. We wanted to really use compositions that we were comfortable, that we were really good at. So I think it really worked in our favor. All right, and I think that really showed in your match against Paris Eternal because you guys looked really dominant in your match that you guys just won. And I personally think the Washington Justice looked far better today compared to your matches in the regular season. So my second question to you, Decay, is what is it about Washington Justice and the playoffs? And of course, I'm also referencing last season's playoffs as well, where you guys had a crazy run as well. So what is it about the playoffs and the Washington Justice? How are you guys able to just pop off in the season playoffs? 자, 두 번째 질문은 이제 방금 말했다시피 좀 이제 이번 저희 시즌 플레이인으로 들어오게 되면서 이제 영웅 밴 이런 게 없기 때문에 좀 더 편안하게 준비를 할 수 있었다고 말씀을 하셨는데 그게 좀 오늘 보였던 것 같아요. 오늘 파리와의 경기를 많이 봤어도 좀 굉장히 좋은 승리를 거두시게 되셨는데 어떻게 보면은 작년 시즌, 저번 시즌 프로업에서도 그랬고 디키 선수가 저번 프로업에서도 좀 굉장한 활약을 했었기 때문에 어떻게 보면 좀 저스티스 팀이 프로업이나 좀 플레이인에 들어오게 되면 항상 좀 더 뭐라고 해야 되죠? 좀 이렇게 진화가 아니라 좀 더 이렇게 파워업을 해야 된다고 해야 되나? 좀 이런 게 있는 것 같아요. 좀 그거가 있다고 생각을 하시나요?
일단 이걸 지면 이제 끝나니까 시즌이 이거 지면은 이제 경기를 더 이상 못하니까 좀 더 진짜 영혼을 다 담아서 하는 것도 있고 마지막만 되면 이제 좀 저희가 잘하는 픽들이 좀 메타가 된다? 그러는 게 좀 운이 좋은 거가 많은 것 같아요. 그래가지고 좀 잘하지 않나 싶습니다.
Right. So I think coming into the play-ins, we all know that if we lose this match, if we lose in the play-ins or in the playoffs, then everything's over. If we lose, there are going to be no more matches for us. So we really put in our soul into every single matches that we play. And also, I believe that we sort of get lucky in that whatever our comfort picks are, or whatever that we are really good at, in whatever heroes that we utilize, that sort of becomes the meta. So in that sense, we sort of get lucky in that sense. I want to just quickly follow up on that. You did talk about the meta and how whatever Washington Justice picks is becoming the meta and how you guys feel lucky about that. What do you think the meta is going to be for the play-ins and the playoffs? 자, 방금 디케이 선수가 말씀하셨다시피 어떻게 보면 좀 이렇게 운 좋게 이제 사용을 하는 영웅들이 어떻게 보면 좀 더 메타가 된다고 말씀을 하셨는데 지금 현 상황에 보셨을 때 DK 선수가 보실 때는 좀 뭐가 메타인가요, 그러면?
솔직히 이번에는 거의 다 조합을 좀 많이 쓰는 것 같아서 딱히 메타랄 게 없는 것 같아요. 그냥 거의 모든 팀들이 다 자기가 잘하는 것 하고 그러는 것 같아서 지금은 딱히 메타가 정해진 건 없는 것 같아요.
Okay. Talking about meta, you know, I don't think there is a set meta that is really set for the playoffs because I feel like teams are utilizing what they're really good at, playing to their strengths. So as of right now, there's not a set meta. I think all the teams are just playing whatever they feel comfortable and whatever they are good at. All right, let's move on to the final question. You guys are one step closer to make it into the playoffs. Decay, if you could pick your next opponent, who do you want to pick? The Houston Outlaws or the San Francisco Shock and why? 자, 마지막 질문은 이제 다음 경기 분명 이제 워싱턴 팀이 상대를 결정을 하지 않지만은 그래도 DK 선수가 고를 수 있다면 휴스턴 팀을 고르시겠습니까? 아니면은 센쇼기랑 경기를 하고 싶으십니까?
저는 어차피 둘 다 만나야 되는 상대라고 생각하고 플레이오프에 가면 그래서 딱히 누굴 고르거나 그럴 생각은 없는데 그래서 굳이 고른다면 휴스턴이지 않나. 쇼크는 저희가 저번 시즌에 좀 플레이오프 마지막 경기에서 좀 떨어졌는데 그 복수를 좀 플레이오프에서 하고 싶어서 휴스턴을 먼저 패고 올라가서 네.
네, 알겠습니다. Alright, so I mean, because at the end of the day, in the playoffs, if we go into the playoffs, we're going to have to face both of them. But if I had to choose, I would choose the Houston Outlaws because I want to get my revenge for last season's defeat against the San Francisco Shock later on in the playoffs. So I want to defeat Houston Outlaws first and then play against the San Francisco Shock in the playoffs. Alright, okay, that is it for the interview. Thank you so much for your time and good luck tomorrow. 자, 이걸로 인터뷰 마치겠고요. DK 선수 감사합니다. Decay? Alright, I think he... Alright, bye Decay. Alright, guys, let's head back.
He just dropped the mic. You know, he had nothing else to say. I absolutely love it. Yeah, Decay out. That was the most passive-aggressive mic drop I've seen in a long time. So good on you, Decay. I mean, there you heard it. He already mapped out his road through the playoffs. So they must be feeling confident. The first play-in match was a great one. Just as advance and await their opponent. So don't forget that we will have Super from the San Francisco Shock live on the Watchpoint Post Show as he will pick Shock's opponent for tomorrow. So definitely stick around for that. And now, this was the 2021 season for the Paris Eternal. And Justice, well, they live to fight another day tomorrow. Now, post-season Decay has been activated. And I mean, looking at the predictions, that was my bad. I kind of failed to look at the character sheet from Washington Justice, and I didn't notice that they put all their points in playoffs and literally nowhere else. Sometimes it be like that. It worked out for them. They seemed so much more confident on the comps we've seen today, Reinforce.
Yeah, no hero pools in the mix this time around for the play-in, so the Washington Justice, they were able to adapt freely to the compositions. They wanted to play whatever the stage. They came out playing the Tracer and the Sombra here on Lijiang Tower. Of course, they started out playing the Reinhardt composition, which they played later on Control Center as well here. Reinhardt really seemed to be a confidence pick for the Washington Justice here. We saw them bring that out on Numbani as well. So this is what we've seen from the Washington Justice previously in the season as well. Remember when they played Dallas Fuel closely in that knockout match? Mag, he was having one hell of a game against Fierce as well. Then you can play these Winston compositions that we saw them play against the June Joust. That's when they played the San Francisco Shock really closely. That's what they really succeeded on in the main melee. So Washington Justice in the play-ins for me, the story for them really is them being able to flex onto all kinds of different compositions they practiced throughout the regular season, and now they're really bringing it all together into one nice blend. They're swapping between multiple compositions, people are comfortable, confident, and Assassin, I mean, his hacks today, they were actually great. No mems today from him. Instead, he had many 5-man EMPs, 4-man EMPs that turned these fights around and really contributed to the win for this team. So the Washington Justice, I think they look really scary and really impressive now in the play-ins. Going up against either the Houston Outlaws or the San Francisco Shock tomorrow, I think either of those teams will have a really rough go of it at the Washington Justice team that looks as good as this. So Washington Justice, you also can't underestimate Closer playing this Lucio, because one of the major issues for Washington Justice in the Countdown Cup was that they didn't have a Brig player that could really compete with the others. They couldn't keep Baby alive because they didn't have a Brig player. That's why we saw Tuba on the Brigitte. Well, now Lucio's back in the mix. Closer can play his comfort hero, and that's really helped the Washington Justice come alive right when they needed it. So, yeah, great showing from the Washington Justice. And, so before I end this round, Assassin. He's trending upwards. I called in the pre-show, the bottom is in. Yes. I mean, you can see for yourselves. This was before the game, of course, you know, a bit of a slump, it bottomed out. Here's what it's up now. Look at it. It's beautiful. It's rising. You know, it started off with a bit bump of a Lijiang Tower. Anubis, it was mad. But then Numbani, woof, it just rose. It just, wow, that's going to the moon, baby. So, I mean, tomorrow, even higher. Even higher tomorrow. Assassin, really putting on a show that series. So, great job by you, Assassin. Yeah, that about wraps it up, Zoe.
Yeah, no, I love it. I mean, we spare no costs and efforts in making new graphics for every talking point that we want to make. I know, right? That was definitely not just flipped. Now, coming up next, it's our last match of the day. Two underdogs hoping to make some noise and get into the playoffs. Boston and Toronto. Now, after we've seen the first two teams face off against each other and maybe getting a feel for the compositions we might be seeing, any better idea now, Costa, what we can expect from the next two teams?
Well, it's actually got me a little concerned because, as we saw in the pre-show, all of us chose the Toronto Defiant on this desk, and I think that's because of their recent performances of looking quite good, playing that wrecking ball sort of dive composition. But the match we just watched, it didn't seem like that was prominent at all, and teams were sort of favoring playing this brawl Lucio style. So my question becomes, is that going to be a thing for all the teams in the West, or is that just going to be those two teams? And it's going to be interesting. And because the reason it's interesting is... No, I'm not flip. No, I'm not going to flip. Okay. Maybe I'll flip. Okay, well, give me a minute. Okay, let me talk it through, rationalize it in my head. Because the point is, I actually think Boston Uprising is better in the Lucio Brawl compositions. They heavily struggled with this wrecking ball dive style where Toronto Defiant really thrives. So is Toronto going to keep trying to force this wrecking ball composition that we know works against this Winston dive style that we just saw in the most recent match? Because that's how the Shanghai Dragons got the lead over the West in the June Joust and the Summer Showdown. So I'm excited to see how that's going to play out for not just these two teams, but in the playoffs as we go further, because everyone should be playing to their comfort. What is everyone going to play? So I think I will flip. I'll give it a flip. I don't think we need the graphic, but I'm actually going to go for the Boston Uprising. After seeing that, if they can play that style, if they can play to their strengths in that kind of way, I think that the Toronto Fight might struggle to have an answer to it.
Valentine Genji.
That's
not what I wanted.
Torb.
Once again, I want a Genji contingency in my pick of if Boston plays Genji, I'm flipping back to Toronto.
No, that's
you already flipped. That's fair.
You can't.
Also, if you're wondering why we're not as passionate about predictions, I mean, the regular season is over. Our scores are already set. So honestly, we can throw anything on the wall now. Now's our chance to go for those risky picks we otherwise wouldn't have dared to do, right? So okay, Costa goes with the flip. Nah, man, I'm good. I already have my share to do. So I'm fine. I've done my one, the obligatory risky pick. Now this is another match with everything on the line, and who better to cover all the action than two guys who have a track record of handling pressure on and off the server with mixed results, Bren and Sideshow.
Wait, appreciate that. Yeah, just throwing us under the bus again, Bren.
To you, no, just Bren actually. Remember Talent Takedown where you just rage quit after you threw on Volskaya? Because I remember.
Wow, I didn't throw. Okay. If we're gonna go now, I actually do have a bone to pick with all of you on this one. If we're going to the Cast of the Masters direction with this one, listen. What are we doing? What are we doing with this with Cast of the Masters? Are we actually trying to get better, or are we throwing for content? Because I'm getting mixed messages from the crew. Because I'm trying every game. I'm trying my heart out. And I'm getting mixed messages from the crew. Are we playing for content or are we trying to get better?
Brent, Zoe and I have to do good because otherwise we're going to go down to silver.
I was about to say,
bear that in mind.
We're on a brink to fall into silver because of this. So, we're trying our hearts out. Unfortunately, we're not great at the game, so we rely on people who are on paper, in theory, better, such as you and Sideshow, which is a weird thing to say. So I don't know why you walk into the opponents before we even, Anyway, it's not about us. It's about good teams playing, and that's
it's not about us.
No, it's not about us. There's way more important things, such as the next matchup. How are you guys feeling about this? After we've seen two teams play already, do you have a grasp on the meta? What are we going to see?
I don't think anyone's got a grasp on the meta.
Yeah.
I think it's pure hubris from Scott trying to flail his prediction around, trying to make a read on what's going on. You just watch Paris and Justice play. Who knows what the meta's going to be?
I've solved it. I've cracked the code after that one match, which was a 3-0. I've solved it all. Don't worry, Josh. You'll catch on eventually.
All right, thank you. Appreciate
I think there's a lot of unknown variables, a lot of unknown quantities that we've yet to see with these teams yet. But we're going to say goodbye to the desk as well. And we're going to get this game underway, and it is everything on the line for both of these teams because this is the entire season that it's culminated to this singular moment. I think it's easy to forget that with all the fun and the jokes that we're having alongside this. This is the play-ins. This is the entire culmination of the 2021 season for both these teams. If you lose, you're gone. That's it. And for some of these players as well, might be their last game playing in the Overwatch League as well. You've got to think about that moving forwards into next season. Obviously, the announcement that we're going to be playing on Overwatch 2, like the sort of like early build, I suppose, of it. Moving to 5v5, some of these opportunities are not going to be present as well. It's a lot. It's going to mean a lot for both of these teams, I think, coming into this.
Yeah, absolutely. And both of these rosters, both of these franchises are having some of their best performances they've had in recent times. The Boston Uprising was the weakest team of 2020. And so to turn that around and be a mid-table team with playoff chances here, what a turnaround. I mean, GM Huck bought the dip and has come into this season with a team, honestly though, Brent, it's a team that it's not even at full strength compared to what he was trying to accomplish in the preseason. They didn't have Soon, for example, a legend of the Overwatch scene who wasn't able to compete with us this year. And so they've been working with a DPS lineup that hasn't been able to fill all of the different roles. But I'm37 has been crucial in filling some of that gap and having a much better performance than he did in the past. And who did he play for in the past? The Toronto Defiant. I'm loving this kind of idea of these two franchises clashing together, because when you look at the history of both of these franchises, it has been up and down for Boston, but a lot of down, and then for Toronto, it has just been a slow grind up to something they can be proud of, and that's what they're aiming for this year, both teams.
Yes, and opportunities abound, I think, as well. When the meta's still so up in the air, which team is going to get the better grasp of it early? Let's take a look at the Toronto Defiant starters. And there's plenty of individuals on this team who we can point at as definitely going to be impactful players, I think, moving forwards as well into this series. Hisu and Aspire have had magical moments. The thing that sticks out for me as well is Michelle, in terms of how well Michelle has been playing in recent times as well, especially against players like Decay. I think back to his match against Washington and how well he was just shutting down Decay as an individual. There's talent on this roster, and we've seen, honestly, the peaks of Toronto Defiant looking quite good.
They certainly have, and like I said, this has been the best year for them as well. These players have had success before. Sado going to the grand finals in 2018. Hisu and Sado together with KDG, the coach of Defiant, having an incredible year in 2020 playing for the Philadelphia Fusion. They were the #1 seeded team coming out of the regular season in the West. But this franchise is having the best year they've ever had. They're at a 56% win rate over the season. I mean, they were at 29% in 2019. And then 36% in 2020. So this is a gigantic step upwards. And if they're able to continue this season, both squads, if they can continue and make a deep run through the play-ins, maybe get to the playoffs, maybe cause an upset later on down the road, it'll easily be their highest accomplishment in a regular season.
Certainly will. And Busan is going to be the stage where we're set map #1 between both of these teams. I believe that's Toronto Defiant's map pick as well, as they're the higher seed in this opening matches and the play-ins. And yeah, just to clear up confusion as well. I saw some people didn't really get it, but the next round of matches with the Shock and the Houston Outlaws, they actually get to pick their opponents out of the winners of the match earlier today and this match here as well. A lot on the line.
Listen, that Justice team was looking improved compared to their recent regular season performances. So
that's the annoying thing about Justice. They come alive in the playoffs.
Well, that's what I'm wondering, whether either of these teams will do it as well. The Toronto Defiant have probably slightly higher player quality. Like, on paper, their roster seems like it would be able to do more than Boston. But Boston have had explosive performances, big upset results this season, off the back of Valentine and Myeonbong, for example. So if anyone turns up for the playoffs, it can create a very different feel for the ceiling of a team.
the Defiant looking to, I think, keep a bit of that momentum that they were carrying forward at the end of the Countdown Cup play-ins. They certainly were looking good. I think it was against the Atlanta Reign. Ended up losing that match, but here we go against the Boston Uprising.
Fire. And here we see both teams playing radically different compositions to what we saw in our previous match. Both going for the ball Zen. I mean, obviously this is favored on Busan anyway, and a lot of this meta I think is going to end up being map dependent. Tracer Sombra for both teams here, but it's not that same Lucio fast-paced brawl, rush, dive kind of comp.
Yeah, and I think we're going to be seeing a lot of different looks of the meta as well early on in the playoffs themselves. You can see the Spies in the back just trying to put in a bit of harassment there to damage off onto the side. Myeonbong trying to stay safe, firing off the volleys from the long-range angles here. It's going to be the early control of the point going to the Toronto Defiant, so in control of this now. They have, honestly, better positioning as well. Looking to try and sync something up with Aspire, potentially as well. Sado coming in.
Aspire's Tracer has been lovely this season. Third in hero damage as well. Brand new rookie coming into the league. He was on a temporary contract. There he is. Just syncing up so well with Hisu and the Discord orbs.
Yeah. Pretty orchestrated. The Boston Uprising looking to answer back. They did manage to jump onto the backline, so it's going to be them taking out the support. Aspire now trying to win out this 1v1, just dodging, juking, trying to stay alive here. With the Boston Uprising flipping this point over, it's only a brief moment where they're going to be able to gain control of it. It's going to go right back to them as well. And it's all about how you set up these dive attempts as well, around the Wrecking Ball, the Tracer, as well as that the Sombra, trying to follow up on a lot of the power drives that come through from your Wrecking Ball player.
Good coordination from Toronto as well, in terms of how they executed those dives. The pressure was nice. Michelle now getting back into mech, as just in time to be able to stop Boston from recapping. There's an EMP. Only really caught 2.
That's a massive transcendence coming out from Lasher there, keeping his entire team up. The pulse bomb gets nothing. Aspire, though, taken out off to the side. In the middle of all this chaos as well, it was the Boston Uprising that flipped back over the point. The mines are scattered with the EMP coming out. It's not going to be catching on to too many people at all. Boston Uprising coming back in now with the Transcendence. It's actually going to fade here, but Myeonbong still able to put in that damage and applying the Discord Orb to all the necessary targets. Still committing the ultimates into this one. Nice whip shot just to push Sado away, but with Aspire going down, it's a lot of the damage and brute force that the Toronto Defiant was able to win out a lot of these team fights. It's going to be missing now.
Certainly is. Aspire actually first pick in both of those extended scrappy fights that formed that team fight. He got punished the first time around by a large amount of Boston just pulling back and peeling, and then the second time Myeonbong hits him with a headshot. This Tracer player for the Defiant is so crucial to finding success, and they still invested the rally in that previous fight, so now big advantage to Boston. They're going to have double support ultimate here, and that rally is going to be so difficult to get through. Plus, I'm 37 with an EMP.
It's good by Michelle eating up that pulse bomb, but Myeonbong's already answering back with Hisu down.
Another one.
You can't play into this. Yeah, Myeonbong absolutely on fire with the damage that he's outputting.
Just finding picks whenever he's under pressure here. They need more coordination.
Oh,
there's the EMP.
It's a bit of aggression there from the Boston Uprising. I mean, they invested a lot of ultimates. They did get the Transcendence out. Lasher had to use that in response to keep the team alive, but now they're going right back in again. The ebbs and flows of the team fight this way. It's going in the direction of the Boston Uprising, though. Aspire falling again. It's not ideal. With Sado gone as well. 95%. Someone's just got to be able to touch this in time. The Toronto Defiant don't look likely. Still, they will be able to get onto it just to force out the overtime in round number 1 of Busan. A hack onto Michelle, though, was critical. Gets the D-Mech in the end, and they've got ults for days now, with Myeonbong just carrying forwards the healing. Should be a closed-out team fight.
Oh, wait there. Don't call it too early. Valentine taking a little bit of damage, but Myeonbong again fires back with that pick. And I'm 37 is cleaning things up. You were completely right, Brent. Look, for a moment there, like Defiant might have been able to wrestle things back under their control. But Boston coming away with a relatively clean one, Brent. And I think the big difference maker was how much they were able to punish Aspire and to some extent Hisu too. What we saw in the first half of that round was some really nice dives and coordinated pressure from Aspire and Hisu, and then Sado coming through at the end as well with the pile drives. But more and more as you went through, Myeonbong was just finding picks on Hisu or on Aspire. Aspire got hacked one of these times as well. You cannot win fights if you're the Defiant when your star Sombra Tracer duo is getting destroyed by a Zen.
you can't win.
Certainly makes it very difficult. We're heading over to the Mecha base now. This is what Scott was theorizing actually when he swapped his prediction back over to Boston, that they would be leaning in to these rush compositions. It's definitely applies to more of their strengths as well as a team. They haven't looked too clean when it comes to a lot of the coordinated plays when they play outside of it, but off to a really great start, honestly, with that round and the teleport. It's aggressive right into them. The charge from across as well. I'm 37 just trying to build up a lot of that damage. The Ice Wall doesn't get too much, and it's a good rotation from Toronto. They bait it back. They haven't lost anybody yet, but the trouble is, how do they take a fight here? Sado needs to try and set up some sort of engage, knocks them down to the low ground, and Sunjay with a whip shot. That's I'm 37 gone. Down and out, but Aspire also traded. Again, missing all that damage still. Boston are definitely getting taken out pretty close here. Has to commit this Amp Matrix into the fight. Myonbo wants to try and turn it around. Fallen is Lowsome as well, giving that extra damage and healing to the rest of his team. Sado committing the mines with the power driver. They can't actually go anywhere, but they've got the immortality field. And yeah, committing into this fight, despite the fact that it looks like the Boston Uprising have the better heals and damage. Oh my word, that! I mean, I don't think it's going to matter, unfortunately, in the end, but it might in the end with Aspire getting the 3-piece with the pulse bomb in close quarters. Michelle's going to try and hold on to this one, but it's too scrappy, it's too disjointed. The team fight was already lost at that point.
That's an absurd play, but it's one pop-off moment when Aspire died early on. And it's not that I'm blaming the Tracer necessarily here, but the investment in that fight was a bit too much from the Defiant. Myunbong was doing such a great job, though, of healing up all the rest of Boston. Stan 1 did drop incredibly low, and this EMP, it's got to find value. They've got the rally already out. There's the hack as well.
That's smart from Hisu, actually, just going for the neutral hack. Has the EMP, lets it rip. He saw the targets, but look at that. Faith was already just round the corner. Dodged it, came back in with a soundbite. It's going to be the free Earth Shatter there for Stan 1. Now the Symbol splits across the point, but Stan 1's still going to be going down. Boston, though, got a lot of damage to work with. I'm 37 has been charging up the beam. The Defiant just have to bide their time. They have to wait in close quarters before they decide to roll back in again. Nice little tech there from Sado as well. Little power driver up to top, and that's synced up with Aspire, tearing through them. Already 2 kills. Might be looking for the 3rd. Teleport down onto the floor, but nobody can reach it in time. And look at the damage that's being done. Aspire just ripping through them, following up on all of that damage and setup that Sado was doing.
And that's what this guy is capable of if you can keep him alive in the team fights. He's trying to play aggressively, and as long as he can avoid getting punished, he is good for kills. He is good for damage. We've seen it the whole time that he's been playing in the Overwatch League this season. Now Boston making some moves, though, over to the Torb, and they now have a flash to be able to deal with him. This gets more and more difficult for the Defiant Tracer.
Yeah, I really don't know how Aspire is going to be dealing with this one, but quick rotation here from the Boston Uprising. Really smart adaptations as well from them when it comes to the composition. Looks like they're just eyeing up the high ground here.
Look how close Hisu is to this EMP, though, Brent. This EMP could really turn things around, and Boston have a very slow comp.
Hisu just trying to get that last percentage point. Has it in the end. EMP comes through, and it did catch onto the tail end. That's the support line of the Boston Uprising. They get caught out, and that is going to be the damage done. A big investment of ultimates there from the Toronto Defiant, but a necessary team fight to win.
I gotta be honest, man, that was so close to being a memp. They speed boost and they went through that area almost exactly at the time that Hisu chose to invest his Translocator.
Yeah.
He did manage to catch the 2 most crucial elements, being Myunbong and Faith, but that was a close one. And now Defiant don't really have another big ultimate they can use to win something, unless Aspire gets another 3k pulse.
The rally is going to give them a bit of healing coming into this.
Myunbong hacked.
They don't have the ultimates. Big pulse into the back. That's Faith. Gone. Taken out. No mortality field, or maybe just the timing wasn't there. Possibly just off cooldown. I'm not sure.
No, Hisu got the hack onto Myunbong, so they went in with the pulse. A really nice setup play by the DPS line from Defiant. And now all the pressure is on Boston.
They have to win out this team fight. Deadeye's going to get channeled up here. I'm 37 moving forwards with it. Obviously, they're going to be showing it a lot of respect. They do flip the point away. So it's going to take away the overtime now. The Toronto Defiant have to try and be aggressive against the Boston Uprising. You can see the way that they're playing, though. Close indoors is exactly where this composition likes to play. Sado, though, trying to set something up. Power Driver comes down, almost getting blocked, but Aspire's taken out early. Once again, I'm 37 finds the kill. It's going to be the South Destruct over the top. No one going to be falling as a result of this one, but they need to try and touch the point now with the overtime going. This could be the final team fight. The Boston Uprising looks to be that they're in firm control here. Stand one. It's eating a lot of damage, and his shield is going to withstand that self-destruct for but a moment. Now, a window of opportunity. The EMP is going to be scattered across the point once more. Hisu, maybe the hack was enough. Stand one falling, still just trying to play loose and around these corners. So Toronto Defiant rolling deep here. The overtime still going, and nobody's going to be able to touch. That's a Defiant essentially stealing that away from the Boston Uprising.
There were 4 players alive there, Bren. That's some bone-hurting Charlie Niner. That really felt like it was still turnable for Boston. And Toronto have been granted a lifeline. Sato takes a chug of the old 2-liter, and we're straight back into round 3.
Yeah, I gotta say, I think Boston are going to be kicking themselves, honestly. Mecha base, one of the most ideal areas to play this rush composition. This is the 3K pulse bomb that ended up missing earlier. Incredible stuff from Aspire.
3, 2, 1. Round 3. Capture.
Yeah, he's really been the win condition, I think, for Toronto. It's all about being able to keep him alive and have that impact in the fight.
My ultimate is charging. My EMP is charging. My ultimate is charging. My EMP is charging.
Bit of a tech issue there, but I am now back. I don't know where the Bren is. Here we go, the Toronto Defiant in that first fight were able to steal control away. And Sato with a little bit of a hack. Lastro very weak there, or rather with a Discord Orb on him, so vulnerable, but he still manages to get the Transcendence off. Hisu EMP online a little earlier than I'm 37 here, as well as Aspire. You can see him, he looks like he's just in the trenches, taking damage from all over the place. And at the very end of that trance, Lastro manages to get picked off. Thankfully, though, Hisu is there with that EMP to try and save things for Toronto, as this little skirmish for Boston is going to be repelled. That's half of the capture point already for the Defiant.
I mean, a critical fight to win, isn't it, for the Defiant now? And they're going to be thinking, thank God we ended up winning on Mecha Base here to take it right here. This is really where the composition that they're playing with the Wrecking Ball can start to excel, but the Boston Uprising not looking to give up just yet. That's the EMP coming over the top. And Sanjay and Sato going to be caught out with that one. Locked up, they can't use too many of abilities, but now the Boston Uprising have gained positioning onto the point. Can start to try and flip this one over, but Aspire, Pulse Bomb in hand, is going to be forced to use that recall. That Shield Bash coming in handy for them, but again, going right into the backline. Pulse Bomb going to be missing just off to the side there, so not quite finding the target they were looking for. Still, the Toronto Defiant are the ones in control of this point. Investing a lot of resources into this one. The Boston Uprising have not gained the edge that they were hoping for. In fact, Lastro, this guy's an absolute menace right now. He's just pumping in the damage, playing in the front lines, and look at the Discord Orb placement. The damage, volley after volley, orb after orb, with the Transcendence healing on top, is absolutely unstoppable.
Toronto have just demolished this round. There was no contest for Boston. Toronto got warmed up. And this map, Brent,
you're kidding me.
It all comes back to that final team fight on Mecha Base. That's the decider. This final round was absolutely one-sided in favor of the Defiant, and they were gifted that opportunity in the first place. If this series ends up being a close one, and this map makes a big difference, Boston are going to hate that they made that large mistake.
Yeah, you got to remember, this is the play-ins. This is the entire 2021 Overwatch League season. Everything they've been playing up towards this match right here. And yeah, what a mistake to make here with Toronto Defiant taking away map number 1. Going to go to a short break, but we'll be right back with the continuation of this epic series. We'll see you in just a few.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.